right, I want to thank everybody for coming out to Holladay City Council this evening. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As this is the anniversary of 9/11, we thought that it was appropriate to take just a moment of silence to remember those that lost their lives in that event, the courage of the first responders, and the families that have continued on since that time. So we'd like to just have a moment of silence now. Thank you. Thank you for that. Also, in light of yesterday's horrific murder at Utah Valley University, I'd like to just make a statement that murder forces us to soberly confront the deep and growing political divide in our country. Sincerely held political beliefs exist across the political spectrum, but when disagreement causes us to strip away the humanity of others and we start to believe that our ideas are more important than another person's life, we are swimming in toxic waters. And each of us plays a part in changing that. Each of us can do better at changing the way that we approach those with whom we disagree. We choose how we speak to and about others. Good and caring people who love their family and community and the world can have fundamentally different ideas about our society than you and I do. That is not a weakness of our system. It is a blessing of living in a society that protects freedom of speech, religion, and conscience. I would like to invite all of us tonight to improve. Together we can stand for a political culture in which violence plays no part. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to open the meeting for public comment. Any person wishing to address the council on any items that are not on the agenda otherwise may do so. You can limit your comments to 3 minutes. Trudy can probably start us off and show everybody how it's done.
Trudy from the library. First, I just want to thank the community for the fantastic turnout at the Star Party. I don't know if any of you were there, but we nearly doubled the attendance from last year. It was hopping. It was great. This Saturday, we're going to be hosting our first fall series, The Tree Talk, with the Holladay Tree Committee. On Monday the 16th, one of our very popular programs that has been on hiatus called Crafter Space will be back at 6:30 p.m. But the big party for September is going to be on September 20th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. You probably didn't know it was Western Month, but it is. And so we will be having a Western party. You can come watch the Dazzle Dogs perform. I don't know what that means, but it sounds great. And then you can paint a bandana for your pet or yourself. And there are some cool photo ops being planned. The beginning of October, the 6th through the 11th, is Freedom to Read Week, which we love at the library. So there'll be fun little bits all week long, but we're going to kick it off with a read-in at the library from noon to 8 p.m. So you can bring a book and a blanket and get cozy. And it's kind of a come and go as you please sort of event. So come and do that. And we have some light refreshments going on. We'll have a blood drive on the 8th. We'll be closed on October 13th for a staff development day. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, October 14th and 15th, we're partnering with Adult and Aging Services to offer a class on dealing with dementia. It's 2 classes that are 2 hours each from 1 to 3, and pre-registration is required, but it's a really fantastic class for those who are helping their loved ones with dementia. And then we'll have an artist reception later in the evening on the 15th from 7 to 8:30. You can come enjoy some refreshments and meet photographer Preston Norris, whose art will be being displayed at the time. And that's what's going on at the library. Any questions? Comments? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment?
Ron Hilton, 2394 East Murray Holladay Road. Um, I actually am here by mistake. I thought this was going to be the Dinwiddie House. That's next week, apparently. And so I was here for that. But as long as I'm here, I noticed one of the items is vacating part of the right-of-way on Arbor Lane. I'm pretty sure I know what that part is. It's kind of on the corner there. Makes sense. But apparently, so a few months ago, actually earlier on, towards the beginning of this year, we had proposed some changes to Murray Holladay Road. And I recently learned that apparently the council was under the impression that we were seeking to vacate part of the right-of-way. And I just wanted to clarify that was never the case. It was repurposing part of the right-of-way, for parking and the sidewalk, but not reducing it. If anything, we still, our offer of the property there, our property as a private property, as a public park is still on the table. And so if anything, we want to give more land to the city, not take away from the city. Anyway, I'm not going to stay for the rest of the meeting, but since I'm here, I thought I would comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else for public comment? All right, seeing as there is none, we'll close public comment. Moving to item 4 on the agenda, consideration of ordinance 2025-16, vacating a certain portion of the right-of-way on Arbor Lane. We've discussed this in previous meetings. I don't know if anybody on the council has any questions or concerns. All right, we'll take a motion.
Let's see, do I have it up here? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I would move that we approve ordinance 2025-16, vacating a certain portion of right-of-way on Arbor Lane.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Councilmember Brewer?
Yes.
Councilmember Durham?
Yes.
Councilmember Fotheringham?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Okay. All right. Item 5 on the agenda, consideration of resolution 2025-23, providing for a creation of a local building authority by the City Council, the City of Holladay, and related matters. This has to do with a bond that we need to go out for in order to pay to seismically upgrade this building, and then also to build a park on the Spring Lane Elementary property. Any questions about this in the council?
Do we need to do any review about its purpose?
If you'd like, we have bond counsel and our financial advisor both present if you have more specific questions or just want an overview.
Oh, I thought it was just since we have a crowd here, a brief overview so we're not glossing over. Most of the times we don't have this size of a crowd, and I don't want to have anyone think we're going to gloss over. But anyway, my understanding is primarily the building authority allows us to retain a measure of flexibility with regard to how we issue the bond.
That's correct.
Particularly with regard to not to retain flexibility for expansion of scope, but rather retention of flexibility in case there's revenues don't come in as projected and we can shift around a little bit as needed. Is that a?
So under Utah law, there are several ways that cities can choose to finance their projects. So one of the things that my role as your fiduciary is to watch out what's best for the city, but not just what's best for today, but what's best for the longer view. And so the two likely candidates of ways that this could be financed is with a pledge of sales tax bonds, with a pledge of your sales and or franchise revenues, or actually using a local building authority, which is a legal structure that I'll have Garrett explain. I can do like the Reader's Digest, high school version. He can give you a more detailed version and probably cite state code. But the structure of a local building authority works very similar to a home mortgage. So the building itself, the park itself, will act as a security to the bondholders. You won't be pledging sales tax. You won't be pledging property tax. Now, the interest rate's a little bit higher, so you say, Laura, why did you recommend that? Well, after, discussion with the council, it was determined because of other projects you have coming down the road. You have needs, for some large road, reconstruction. And, if you put on, like, you're the bond purchaser hat for a moment, if you're going to have security in a physical facility, would you rather have a city hall or a road? Oh, you probably want city hall, right? So it makes logical sense to do city hall because it's essential purpose. The bond market's like that. That retains your capacity to pledge sales tax and franchise tax revenues to those other bonds like a road. So that was the rationale. What you're creating, a local building authority, is an actual nonprofit. The city will have the right every year to determine whether it's going to make the lease payment or not make the lease payment. Not dissimilar to a home mortgage. If you make your house payment, what happens at the end of all those payments? Yay, it's your house. If you don't make the house payment, it becomes the bank's house. So it's similar structure and very high level for you and your constituents to grasp pretty easily. Now you can talk about the local building.
Yeah, so expanding on what Laura said, yeah, the local building authority is an entity that's created and required by state law under what we call the Local Government Bonding Act, as well as the Local Building Authority Act, that is an entity that's basically created as an alter ego of the city to conduct these. It's a not-for-profit to conduct these types of these types of financing and construction of project type activities. And so unfortunately the state law every state's different in how it allows for this mechanism, but most states do allow it. And in Utah, the case law, as well as now the state statutes, require it to be done through what we call this local building authority, or this entity. It's essentially a not-for-profit. The board of trustees of this entity is basically the governing board of the city, and it really can't do much of anything without the approval of the city council as well. So it's just how the state statutes require, when you allow for this type of flexibility where you're not pledging a specific set of revenues or sales tax or something that's very narrowly tailored. That's how the statutes, or you don't have an election, a bonding election, which can be very, very challenging and time consuming and expensive. That's what the statutes require. So I don't know if that helps, but
I appreciate
questions
that.
on that? So.
One other thing that might be helpful to know is the building authority actually is where the assets, if you will, stay. And then they are leased to the city. The city makes payments to the building authority. Building authority makes payment to the bondholders.
And so the slight interest rate elevation is because we're not pledging specific revenues, but we do
Yes.
pledge collateral, the hard assets.
Yes, and because you have the right every year, technically you have the right, I hope you don't, but you exercise that right, but you have the right every year to not make the lease payment.
Yeah.
So it's subject to what they call subject to annual appropriation. So there's a little bit more risk to that
Right.
type of bond. Not often have local governments not made lease payments, but it has happened, not in Utah.
Right. But our primary objective here was to create some flexibility with regard to dealing with future capital projects
Absolutely.
that are not as easily bondable in a similar fashion.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I'll just make one point really clearly. There's some discussion about the collateral that could be pledged to secure bonds. And there was a note that we would secure that with City Hall. And they also mentioned the park. We will not be securing with the property of the park, but with the city's leasehold interest. Just want to make that clear for the
I had a
record.
question about that. So what is the collateral for that bond?
It's all one bond, and you're
Oh,
using City Hall
City
as
Hall,
the primary
okay.
asset, with the leasehold interest the city holds in the park, but not the ground itself.
Okay.
But Todd, it is all the ground here, though. Is that correct? Right.
Yes.
Any other?
And one clarification on that too is that the pledge of the collateral is a leasehold pledge. So if in the event that the authority were to not appropriate on those payments, it's not as if there would be it's like a foreclosure, but it wouldn't be a traditional foreclosure where the assets are essentially sold off, to creditors. But essentially, it would just be a foreclosure where the trustee comes in and basically subleases the property for the remainder of the lease term and tries to recoup what it can in terms of lease payments through the end of that lease term. So just so you're clear, it's
For the record, for the bondholders, we intend to make our payments.
Right.
We're talking about
right.
head of a
Maybe the
pin
worst case
stuff.
scenario, but just pointing out that legal technical difference that it is slightly different on that front.
Madam, if we're ready, take a motion.
Yep.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I move approval of Resolution 2025-23, providing for the creation of a local building authority by the City Council of the City of Holladay and related matters.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilmember Brewer?
Yes.
Councilmember Durham?
Yes.
Councilmember Fotheringham?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. All right, city manager report.
Nothing from me this evening.
Thank you. All right, council reports and district issues. Drew, how about we start with you?
Okay. So it has been a busy week. A week ago, I was able to go and help celebrate 60 years of Churchill Junior High. It was 60 years ago this year that Churchill started educating students and has done a wonderful job. It was a very nice evening. And yesterday, we had really a historic event here in Holladay. You are probably familiar with the Holladay Bank and Trust on Murray Holladay Road. It was purchased by Redemption Holdings out of Atlanta and will now be known as Redemption Bank. This will be the first Black-owned bank in the Mountain West, and it was quite a celebration. Dr. Bernice King, the youngest daughter of Martin Luther King, was there and spoke and helped cut the ribbon. It made me feel so good because several of the people that spoke who have been in on this process, which has really taken close to 4 years, talked about the support not only of people in all of Utah, but people here in Holladay. One gentleman talked about he was used to going into boardrooms and sitting down and talking with potential investors. Instead, he said that the Huntsman family invited him to their home and they sat and ate sandwiches at the Huntsman's kitchen table while they talked about this endeavor. Huntsman's, Garf's, Sorensen's, Eccles, the Miller family, and others many of whom are Holladay residents, are all investors in this great work. Redemption Bank is going to be the only bank that has an on-site SBA office, and so it will be huge for small businesses here in Utah and around the Mountain West. And they emphasize that this group is dedicated to economic equality. So it's really, really a great thing for Holladay.
Speaking of anniversaries, I also attended an anniversary, but it was 70 years, but it was my parents' wedding anniversary. So they're 89 now. But regarding we had a couple of issues. Wanted to thank Chief Hoyle and our UPD team. We had a typical beginning of the school year traffic issue down near the Waldorf School, where there was some issues of using adjacent private property for parking and drop off. But the chief and his team were able to monitor that situation and make everybody happy. So, which is always a good thing. Related to that, well, not related to that, but a separate incident at Hidden Meadows Apartments. We had a gun-related incident which caused some concern and worry of a particular renter that, well, I won't go into the details, but it caused some consternation from a young mother. And, but the chief was able to lay out the history of the event and calm that renter down and with the appropriate context of the fluidity of the situation. But it just, I wanted to thank Chief Hoyle for the professionalism and care and compassion with which he was able to deliver that message and calm our voter, citizen, resident in that situation. Related at Hidden Meadows, I just wanted to keep some, well, Gina's not here, but there's still the issue of the catwalk at Hidden Meadows, and I wanted to continue to pursue options there. I understand, Todd, that there's some issue of who owns that catwalk going out the back. And so as a result, there may be some headache and heartache in order to get to a resolution there. But I wanted to continue mentioning just to keep it on the radar until we can kind of find a resolution there one way or another. Also, thanks to Jared for Lakewood Drive. That's a road in my neighborhood, so I might not be yelled at anymore. So neighbors are happy in the Lakewood area. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Just a couple of things from the tree committee. On September 20th, the tree committee will be planting an anniversary tree in honor of Holladay's 25th anniversary. And so there'll be information going out about that. But thanks to John for helping us find a location and work out the logistics on that. And then on October 11th, we'll be planting another tree, this time to honor Travis Jones, who was a longtime Holladay resident and member of the tree committee and chair of the tree committee. He's moved to Oregon, but will be back to visit and to see the planting of this tree, and that'll be another fun event. I think that's going to be a little bit of a smaller event, but anybody who's interested in attending that to see Travis and honor him is certainly welcome. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Ty?
As far as the Historical Commission is concerned, the speaker series continues, and on the 22nd, it's the Monday night. I think it's the fourth Monday here in September at 7 p.m. here at the City Hall. Paul Reeve will be speaking. His talk is entitled "This Abominable Slavery," and he'll be talking about the origins of slavery in Utah, kind of pre-Civil War kind of a thing. And I was just going to read this one piece that says, traces, let's see, including Holladay's own Howell family, descendants of enslaved people who built lives of faith here despite exclusion. So I guess on the tail of what Paul was discussing, is an interesting topic, but nice to see where we are today versus then, right?
Thank you. I don't have anything to report this week. So I think we can take a motion and recess council into a work meeting.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we adjourn city council meeting and reconvene in a work meeting. I understand we're staying here.
Yeah, we're staying here.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We are now in a work meeting. All right. So this evening we have all of the water service entities that service different areas of Holladay. We kind of have a conglomerate of entities that serve us that come to talk about what they're doing in our city. I don't know, Gina, the order that you had set up for them, but I'd like to.
I thought we could start with a map that kind of explains those boundary areas.
Okay.
And then I think we'll have Jordan Valley Water Conservancy go first.
Okay.
I think we have your slides. I think we'll display the map first, let you look at it, and then move to that presentation.
Okay.
So, and I see the legend. I know that the yellow is Valley Conservancy District's water service. I'm sure you'll hear about the number of residents. I believe it is less than 1,000. Um, the pink area of our city is served by Holladay Water, and we'll hear from Darren Shepherd in a bit. And then the white area is Salt Lake City Public Utilities, and we'll be hearing from them as well. So with that, I will turn the time over to, I'm sorry, Giselle Terry, yes.
All right, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you a little bit today. Jordan Valley, yep.
Be your own clicker. Looks like Stephanie will be your clicker.
All right, my name is Giselle Terry. I'm the Assistant General Manager with Jordan Valley Water, currently overseeing operations and maintenance for the most part. And like I said, I'm happy to be able to talk to you a little bit today. Jordan Valley is primarily a wholesale water agency. We have 17 member agencies that we wholesale to. It's about 90% of our deliveries. And then we have about 8,000 retail connections, and obviously some of those are here in Holladay, and that's about 10% of our deliveries. For the number of connections in Holladay, we have just about 300, give or take a little bit. That's connections, so you're correct. Population's probably just around 1,000 or just below that. As far as our infrastructure, we have 3 water treatment plants. We have our largest water treatment plant, which is the largest water treatment plant in the state. That's in Harriman. It can treat 180 million gallons a day. We are in the process of expanding that plant, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about some of our capital improvements. We also have a treatment plant in Sandy and a treatment plant that's at our headquarters site in West Jordan. In addition to that, we also have about 40 groundwater water wells, and then we also purchase some water from other entities that bring water in. Our sources are primarily the Central Utah Project, which comes from the Provo River system, so Jordanelle Reservoir, Deer Creek Reservoir, and then also the Provo River Project. That's where we get most of our surface water from. In addition, we do get a little bit from the mountain streams that are south of Little Cottonwood Creek, so there's some sources there. So that's just a little bit about Jordan Valley. This next slide kind of shows a little bit more on the map that you looked at in terms of just Holladay and the portion that we serve. So as you can see, that darker portion is the retail portion. Originally, when the district was set up in 1951, our mission was to serve unincorporated county areas in Salt Lake County, and so that was our mission. So we do have some pockets of retail. For the most part, those have been annexed into various cities, but we do still have several, like I said, about 8,000 connections that are just these little pockets here and there. And over the course of time, we have, some of those have been annexed into other jurisdictions and things like that, but there are still some that are remaining. So how we ended up with this portion of retail is primarily because of Casto and Dry Creek Springs. In the 1960s, the district was young and we really had no water supply. We were purchasing most of our water supply from Metropolitan Water District in Salt Lake and Sandy, and they had water coming from Deer Creek Reservoir. But we were looking to shore up our own water sources, and so we were looking at purchasing all of the shares and buying out basically the Casto Springs Irrigation Company and the Deer Creek Irrigation Company. And part of that deal was that we would then provide the infrastructure and provide water to those those people that were part of the irrigation company. And so that's how we ended up serving this area of Holladay. We used those springs for several years. We chlorinated them and put them into the system, and we were merrily going along our way. And then there were some changes in drinking water regulations, and the water was determined to be under the influence of surface water, so it required additional treatment, which we didn't have the facilities to do at the time. And so we actually stopped using those sources and began buying water from Metropolitan Water District, and that's currently what's serving those areas. And I'll talk a little bit more about some upcoming changes to that. Next slide. So part of, I believe, is one of the things that you wanted to know is just to talk a little bit about our water rates. We do have extremely low water rates, especially for our retail area. And you can see there that we try and keep a low base charge, which is, and then we have our tiers set up by in 4 tiers, and those are based upon meter size. I know there's some places that do that by acreage. There's different methods for doing that, but we've chosen to do that on meter size. The way that is designed is that for, say, in the summer, when someone's using their peak water usage, they should be able to, most people, if they're watering moderately efficiently, they should be able to stay in tier 2 or 3. If they are watering what we would consider to be excessive and more than they need based upon their meter size, they will go into that tier 4. So our rate structure is designed to encourage conservation, and that's something that we continually look at. We typically do rate updates every year or every other year, just to make sure that we're staying on top of what those rates should be. And we're currently in the process of doing a rate study right now. Next slide. Just to talk a little bit about capital improvements. This is our 10-year capital improvement plan. You can see that for the next 4 fiscal years, we are going into an intense period of capital spending. There's some notable projects that we are doing, and we're looking at bonding for about $230 million over the next 4 years. Half of that is to expand our largest water treatment plant from 180 million gallons per day to 255. And that is just in order to keep up with demand and mostly with the growth that's in the southwest portion of Salt Lake County, Harriman, Riverton, South Jordan, West Jordan. And additional projects that are kind of part of that is in order to get that additional capacity out of the treatment plant, we're putting in a redundant aqueduct that's leaving the treatment plant to serve that southwest portion. That's our southwest aqueduct. And then we are continuing to develop our groundwater sources, putting in we're drilling 3 new wells to put in, and then we've also got 2 new reservoirs going in and a booster station. So those are the things that we're looking at in the next few years. In terms of how we prioritize our projects and kind of what we decide, basically it's based upon our master planning, which we try to do a comprehensive master plan at least every 10 years and then update accordingly depending, sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's 5 years, depending on just kind of what's going on. We are updating one that's just 2 years old because we have some large developments that are coming in terms of the point in Draper, and then also some Kennecott lands. So we're updating that. And then just based upon what we need in terms of infrastructure to continue to make the deliveries that our member agencies are requiring, that kind of prioritizes our capital improvements plan. Next slide. Last, I just want to kind of finish up with some of our conservation goals and programs. The district really got serious about conservation in 2000, and we've really been kind of on the leading edge of that ever since. We have looked at conservation as essentially a way to develop a new water source. Anything that we can save in terms of water that delays those projects, until the future. That plant expansion that I just talked about was originally planned for the year 2000. So we've been able to put off that plant expansion for 25 years just because of the amount of water we've been able to conserve. So we feel like right now we can still conserve water, and the money we put into that is still cheaper than developing new sources. Next slide. So our conservation is essentially a 3-pronged approach. We look at education, incentives, and then structural or regulatory changes. Next slide. This is our conservation garden park, which is one of the first things that we embarked on back in 2000. And we knew that if we were expecting the residents and our customers to conserve water, we had to give them some tools to know how to do it. It isn't necessarily intuitive for everyone to know how they can conserve water. About 60% of water's outdoor use. That's starting to come down as we continue to work on conservation, but that's really where we've got the biggest opportunity to make changes. Next slide. And that's located in West Jordan at our headquarters site, and you can visit. We've done several expansions over the years, just as we've added things. One of the things we added was, this is our Localscapes exhibit. And again, even though we had the garden, it was kind of hard for people to envision, what does that look like at my house? So we basically built a kind of mock house and then showed them how they could install Localscapes, which you may or may not be familiar with. It's basically, you're probably familiar with Xeriscape, but a lot of times when people hear that, they think rocks and skulls and cactus, and that's not what we want here in Utah. It's not what we have here in Utah. And so Localscapes was designed to really show people that they could have a green and beautiful yard while still saving a substantial amount of water. Next slide. We have lots of free classes all throughout the year, and we typically get around between 35 and 38,000 visitors to our garden park every year. And we have about 40 in-person classes every year, and lots of our classes are now moving online, and so we have tens of thousands of people that attend our online classes as well. Also for incentives in terms of our conservation programs, these are our three main pillars. The first two are pretty self-explanatory. We do rebates for water efficient toilets and for smart sprinkler controllers. And then our landscape incentives is really where the bulk of our effort is. Next slide. Right now, we are giving $3 per square foot in a rebate for any lawn that is taken out and replaced with water-wise landscaping. We have some criteria, so you can't just take out any lawn and put whatever you want there. There has to meet the criteria, but we're really looking at not getting rid of all lawn. We're looking to get rid of non-functional turf. There's a lot of turf that's in people's yards and just in commercial spaces that nobody's using. Nobody walks on it except to mow it, and that's really what we're trying to look at, because it's essentially a large reservoir where we can save a lot of water by putting in water-wise landscaping. So here's our website. You can go to Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District, jbwcd.gov/conservation, and those buttons across the bottom will take you to those various conservation things. Utah Water Savers is one of the most universal in terms of all incentives, and anybody in the county can put in their address, and it will let them know what incentive programs they're available for their specific location, and it will give them all the information in order to sign up for those rebates. That is all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
So I had said earlier to maybe save questions to the end, but I think it makes more sense to ask them now. So
good. I was going to ask if I could.
Yeah. Go for it.
This is great. And by the way, I've been out to that conservancy. What did you call it? The garden?
Conservation garden.
Conservation garden. And if those, maybe some of you probably have, but it's really cool. I had just a few questions. First of all, size-wise, how do you compare and mostly I'm just interested amongst the three of you. Mm-hmm. You know how yours is quite large, obviously, right?
Yeah. We deliver about 115,000 acre feet a year. We serve a population of about 750,000 if you look at wholesale. Some of our wholesale agencies have some of their own sources and wells that they supplement, and then there's others like West Jordan or Bluffdale that were their sole source. But yeah, I do believe in terms of, it's probably a toss-up, and there's some differences between us and Central Utah Water Conservancy District, but there's really 4 large water conservancy districts in the state. There's us, Weber Basin, that serves Davis and Weber, Central Utah, that's primarily Utah County, but we do take a lot of Central Utah water, and then Washington County down at St. George. And then you've got Metropolitan Water District that wholesales to Salt Lake and Sandy. They're also fairly large. And then, of course, Salt Lake City's got a large
Got it. So you're massive,
system.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
The other question I had, so with these 300 and some odd that are here in Holladay then,
Mm-hmm.
so and I get that it originated from the 60s and all of that, is it likely that that will continue in perpetuity, or?
You know, we've approached Holladay and Salt Lake City a couple times about, if they want to take over that water system, there's obviously some logistics to doing that. There's some difference in rates, and, sometimes it's just a timing issue. We actually were having some internal discussions that maybe it's time to have that conversation again. One of the things that when we started taking water from Metropolitan in order to serve those areas because we couldn't use Castile Springs anymore, was that there's a surcharge on top of that because it's, you're in a different pressure zone. And so we were getting charged from Metro. We had to pass that along to those customers. And so they pay a little bit higher rate than our other retail customers. But one of the things I forgot to mention, and thanks for your question because it reminded me, we actually got a grant, a $3 million grant, and we are actually putting a treatment process on those Castile Springs so that we can then move those back into our system and no longer need to, buy water from Metro to serve those areas. So that should reduce the rate. But again, I think there's an opportunity. One, obviously, if you guys would be happy to probably get to one water supplier and not have 3 different, hodgepodge systems serving your residents. But no, that's not something that has to go forth in perpetuity. We generally, in our actual bylaws, we have a mission to try and get to where we're just a wholesale agency. We just think it's smart to do that. It's strange to have these little pockets, places. We're happy to continue to serve those areas, but it makes it difficult for residents. The person across the street, gets their water from somebody else. It's difficult for cities, and so that's something we're happy to have a conversation about.
Yeah, thanks. And sorry, I have so many questions. And call me Mr. 20 Questions if you want to, but I do have more. So on your rates, though, I'm curious, does that take into account lot size and things like that at all, or is it?
No, what we do is a lot of places do it by lot size, but
Yeah.
one of the problems that people have is you might have a quarter-acre lot that's all lawn, and you might have a quarter-acre lot that's landscaped, with a lot of efficient landscaping. And so, is it fair that they pay the same? So what we've chosen to do is meter size, and then we have actually looked at the data. We have AMI, so we've got AMI on all of our meters, and we actually did a study where we looked at the water usage for all of our retail customers. And we then basically took the bell curve and we kind of looked at it seasonally and said, okay, for people who are using their water efficiently, and the way we figured that out is we actually did looking at GIS and using Google Earth and other mapping, we said, how much lawn is in a typical quarter-acre lot, or a typical lot that has a 3/4-inch meter, or one that has a 1-inch meter. And based upon that square footage of irrigable lawn, area, what would we consider to be efficient water use? And so again, the idea was to keep the vast majority of people who are using their water relatively wisely in those lower tiers. And then we do have obviously some people that are on those the outer edges that are going up into that tier 4. And again, that's to, basically promote conservation. So we have found that we're able to have more people stay in the lower tiers by looking at, and it makes more sense to use meter size than to go by lot size.
Interesting. Last question. Do I understand correctly that there's by Olympus Junior High School, just west of it, there's a piece there, and I thought I had been told at one point that was it's a supply line that goes out and feeds Jordan Water. Is that?
Sorry, I missed the first part. Where did you say?
It's by Olympus Junior High School, just west of it. There's a piece there. And so is that a case where you're purchasing water from another water company that then
that's
shoots
probably
it
what
up
it's
to you or
referring
something
to.
like that?
Yeah, we have 2 lines that come. Well, we actually have about 4 connections, kind of between Little Cottonwood Creek and then like the Fortunas, and where we can take water there from Metropolitan. And so it's probably referring to that one of those connections. We have several.
But the treatment facility that it's like a facility that you'll build?
Yeah, so
Is
there's
up
I don't know, you're probably familiar, we have a reservoir in Nanaloa. There's a reservoir there, and that's the reservoir that those springs will feed into. We're actually going to put the treatment for those springs at that Nanaloa reservoir site.
Got it.
So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is your timeline on the Castile Springs?
We are in design right now. So we're looking at probably 18 months to 2 years, hopefully, before we're completely finished with the project. We'll just have to see how things go.
Would that give you an opportunity to expand retail service, or is your objective more to still scale back?
Our objective
regardless?
is to still scale back. We have no desire to expand our retail service, especially with these little pockets. It's not efficient for us. The idea is really to have a backup, or to look for opportunities where we're no longer having to take water from Metro, because that's been on system capacity basis. So for instance, at any point in time, if they say, hey, we need the capacity in our pipeline to deliver to our actual customers, which is Salt Lake and Sandy, they can technically kick us out of that pipe and basically say, yeah, you're on your own, you got to go find water somewhere else. And so getting to where we can treat those sources again, that gives us a backup, and so we would then move to the Castile Springs as our primary, with Metropolitan being a backup, and then hopefully that should allow us to reduce those rates a little bit.
When you say your customers, if you're getting out of retail,
Mm-hmm.
would you then be selling back to Salt Lake City?
Yeah, there's been several different ways that we've done it. Sometimes it's just a take over a connection, and we have to work out infrastructure and what, depends on what the cost of infrastructure is and what people are taking over. But yeah, essentially it's either, Holladay Water or Salt Lake City that would then essentially take over service to those retail customers.
Right.
And we'd work out what.
I guess my only concern about I'm trying to figure out, you've got this monster capital plan in these early years coming up, and then fading out later. But is there an impact to Holladay retail customers taking the front end of a big share of, an oversized portion of their share of these capital projects, and then they get bailed out to be picked up by someone else?
I would say it's the other way around.
Okay.
And so
there's. And forget I asked that then.
So and it's not, I don't want to go into, go so far as to say that retail is, that wholesale is subsidizing retail, but you get a great economy of scale because we're such a large wholesaler agency. So that's really what it comes down to.
The retail rates are almost at wholesale kind of a thing.
Yeah, our retail rates are very competitive, and frankly, that's been one of the reasons why we've had trouble, having other agencies annex us, is because those people are like, hey, we pay really low rates at Jordan Valley. Right. We don't want to pay city X rates or city Y rates. They want their lower water rates. So that's kind of been one of the barriers in the past.
Would for that area you're doing retail now in Holladay, what if you were to leave that area from a retail standpoint? Is Salt Lake City the only option, or would it be also an option for Holladay Water?
I think either one would be an option. It would just be a case of looking at it from both the technical standpoint, what makes sense from the infrastructure.
That's the question. From a technical standpoint, are both
I think both are viable. Options? Yes, we've looked at them, and I think both are equally viable. It's just kind of depending on if they think that's the case on their end. But yeah, either one could be an option.
On the conservation side, is for local residents and local scaping, is there, is there consulting available out there at the center, like free consulting kind of a thing?
Free consulting. If you sign up for those incentives, it walks you through. There's a lot of stuff that's online that kind of lets you do it at your pace. But yes, you can bring in your plan and say, here's what I'd like to do. Is this a good idea? Can you help me figure that out? And so yes, there's lots of, it's all free consulting. So yep.
Cool.
There's lots of resources there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Salt Lake City? All right.
Thanks everybody for having us here. My name is Jesse Stewart. I'm the Deputy Director at Public Utilities in Salt Lake. We're probably the biggest provider here in Holladay City. I think Jordan Valley is probably the smallest, and then it's us, and then a Holladay Water Company, then us. So I'm going to start off just a little bit about public utilities. Got a few slides. Can talk about any number of things as we go forward, but I'm going to just try to run through these real quick so we can have time for questions. We're one of the oldest water providers in the West, actually. We're the oldest one here in the Valley, I believe, established in 1876. We're a department of Salt Lake City Municipal Corporation, so we're one of the departments, just like Public Services or Parks would be. We provide water for about 360,000 people, and that's across Salt Lake City, Mill Creek, Holladay, a little bit of Cottonwood Heights, a little bit of Midvale, a little bit of South Salt Lake, and maybe one others I can't remember right now. We do in our department, we do sewer, stormwater, and street lighting in Salt Lake City, and then we do water really from the mouth of Little Cottonwood Canyon across the East Bench all the way into Salt Lake City proper out to the new prison site. We're pretty heavily regulated by both, as is Chazelle and everybody else, by EPA and DEQ with Clean Water Act and Safe Drinking Water Act, and then with our water rights by the Division of Natural Resources, Division of Water Rights. Next slide. So again, these are our 4 utilities. Again, for here in Holladay City, it's just water, and that's why I've got a picture of one of the alpine lakes up in Cottonwood Canyons. Part of our mission is also to do source protection in Little Cottonwood, Big Cottonwood, and Parley's, and then City Creek itself also. Again, there's who we serve water to and what we do within the city for our other 4 utilities. Keep in mind, those are 4 independent utilities. They all operate separately. We can't take sewer money and fund water projects or vice versa. So water is just water, sewer is just sewer. So why do we serve Holladay City? So if anybody can recognize that picture, you get a prize. Any ideas? That's a pump station at Utah Lake. So why do I have a picture of the pump station at Utah Lake? So part of what we do, again, we're the historic water provider along the East Bench, and a lot of this stems to the exchange agreements from the late 1800s. You got a lot of canals going through here. We've got the East Jordan Extension. You've got Big Cottonwood Lower, Big Cottonwood Tanner, Big Cottonwood Walker, Neumann Ditch. You've got all these different canals that come through here. All of those have agreements with Salt Lake City. Back in the day, in the 1800s, the farmers, the people who were irrigating, wanted a constant supply of water for the irrigation season. Salt Lake City wanted to have better, more pristine water to treat. So we exchanged Utah Lake water for irrigation so that we can use the more pristine water for culinary. So that's, again, we started treating and using Little Cottonwood and Big Cottonwood, and we conveyed that water all the way from the mouth of Little Cottonwood to Salt Lake City, and we provided water all along the way. So we've been providing water out here long before anything was incorporated, back when it was unincorporated county. So kind of think of the East Bench across the way, with the exception of a little bit like Chazelle talked about, and a little bit of what White City does, or what Holladay Water does. We are the main water provider as it goes across. One thing to keep in mind, it's not like we can say, hey, here's Holladay's water, and here's your connections, and here's Mill Creek's, and here's your connection. I think of it as one large organism. So the water passes through the different pressure zones we have from Cottonwood Heights into Holladay City, into Mill Creek, and then into Salt Lake City. So we can't say, oh, we're not going to serve Holladay City anymore, because it's part of our system as we go forward. I'm not going to read all that, so we'll go on. Water-related infrastructure, we've got 3 water treatment plants. We've got one up in City Creek Canyon. We've got one at the base right by the golf course in Parley's Canyon, right below Mountain Dell Dam, 100-year-old dam there with a treatment plant right below it. And then we've got Big Cottonwood at the mouth of Big Cottonwood, and then we're also member agencies with Metropolitan Water District of Salt Lake and Sandy, that has Little Cottonwood Water Treatment Plant and Point of the Mountain Water Treatment Plant, and then they have agreements with Chazelle and Jordan Valley, so we actually get some water from the Harriman plant out into kind of the northwestern portion of Salt Lake City through those exchanges. We have 7 water storage dams and reservoirs. Again, that's the high alpine dams that were part of old irrigation companies that we took over, and then we got Mountain Dell and Little Dell up in Parley's Canyon. We have 32 distribution reservoirs and tanks. I'll talk about some of those that we're going to be doing some capital on here in Holladay in the coming years. And we have about 1,300 miles of water lines, 650 miles of sewer, and 350 miles of stormwater. Again, those bottom 2 are just within Salt Lake City proper. Next slide. On that picture on that last slide was Big Cottonwood Water Treatment Plant. Water lines, age of our lines, again, we've got some old ones, we've got some new ones. We're replacing every year. We're getting new lines put in every year. I'll talk about some of the break history we've had here in Holladay and the challenges we have there. Again, most common size is 6/8, 12s, and there's some big ones for our big transmission lines. And then we've got a mixture of ductile iron, cast iron, PVC, and concrete types of pipes. When we go to do our asset management, we have a fairly robust asset management program. We try to say every piece of infrastructure we have has a plan. So we look at all of our pipes, all of our pump plants, our pressure reducing valves, whatever it might be, and we try to give it all a condition and a criticality. So criticality is going to be, how critical is it to our system? So I live in Salt Lake City. The line in front of my house is very critical to me, but in terms of the grand system, it's not that critical. But its condition could be, warrant that we do work on it. So everything's a 1 to 5. 5 would be the worst condition and most critical project we have. So we try to look at all of those as we go. So we inventory, we assign criticality condition, and then we create a plan for those. And we update that plan every year as we go through our budget cycles. We have an annual plan, a 5-year, a 10-year, and then a 30 to 50-year plan as we go forward. Factors that go into this, again, the critical condition and criticality, we also look at what's going on with growth in terms of the city, and this city also. There's not a lot of room to expand kind of laterally, but a lot of the cities are going up. You're getting infill and you're getting taller buildings. So we're making sure we look at that. We take care and look at different regulations that are coming down. So we as all public water systems analyze daily for a myriad of constituents. Some of the current ones we're starting to look at with EPA is forever chemicals. That's when we're starting to look at the PFAS and PFOs. We also work with roadwork and agency coordination. So we meet with Salt Lake City and Mill Creek and Holladay, and we try to make sure that we don't have a project planned, a month or a year after, say, Holladay City puts in a brand new roadway. We'd like to get in there ahead of them.
I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to talk about specific situations here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Then we look at budgeting, financing, like what can we actually afford? What can we afford to do? Sometimes it's going to be we delay and we do more repairs, and sometimes we do actual capital improvements. Internal, external resources, efficiency and sustainability, and then what public impact we have on things. So, upcoming capital projects in Holladay. So I've kind of got near term, this is 1 to 3 years, and then short term, 3 to 5. And all these might change as we go forward, but that's what we're looking at right now. So I've got a square around Tanner Reservoir, and I've kind of got this big oblique, whatever you call that shape, kind of around the Hughes Canyon neighborhood that's had a lot of breaks recently. So Tanner Reservoir, we're actually replacing that entire reservoir, and we'll be doing a lot of the valving and things there, and that directly impacts where the water pressure comes for a lot of Holladay City here. Then Hughes Canyon, again, you're probably aware we had a fairly significant issue there recently that's in the final stages of getting cleaned up. Water's back in service, and then we're going to be looking at that whole neighborhood for replacements. Well, we've done that a couple times in Holladay and Mill Creek and in Salt Lake City. There's some neighborhoods that, the pipes are great until they're not great. And it's like a vintage of wine or a vintage of something else you're looking at. Some pipes, it's like we're realizing, oh, that 1972 pipe is just not good because it starts to go all at once. So we're definitely looking at those. And then the short term, we got the 39th South Pump Station and pipelines that will be going on. And then the Olympic Splendor area, that's another area that we're looking at because of history of breaks as we go forward.
So can you give us any numbers on that? I mean, what is short term? What is near term?
So short term is going to be 1 to 3 years as we're budgeting this. We can't do it all at once, and there's a lot of lines to replace. And then the short term is going to be 3 to 5. So the near term is the stuff that we've got in our budgets coming up. And those are things we'll be budgeting in the next year. And it might be a multi-year project as we go forward.
Thank you.
Do you have any more exact dates on that Hughes Canyon neighborhood replacement?
I think what we're planning on is having that in this next budget cycle. So at least we're getting started on it. Yep.
For next year?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the plan is to at least get started on that. Whether we get through all of it, and once we assess it all, that'll be determined.
Okay.
The other one that we're seeing the headlights coming is in Drew's neighborhood by Morningside, right?
Lisa Drive and 38.
Yeah, that's another one. I think is that the Splendor area? Yeah, that's that Splendor
No, that's
area.
not the Splendor area. It's a completely different
Well,
street.
Lisa's another one. I actually looked at that today. I think I just wrote down Splendor. Lisa's another area that we're looking at.
So
because that's just up kind of by the pedestrian bridge that goes across.
it's by Morningside Elementary. It's a little bit lower.
I mean, there and down. We'll kind of get that area and then head down. Yep.
Yeah.
Looking at, though, do you mean on your short-term list, or what do you mean?
Well,
by
we
looking
have to
at?
assess it and see what it's going to take to replace those. So we can't just go in and do all the replacements at once. So we'll make a plan for those areas and then start putting those into our capital plan and our long-term budgeting and long and short-term budgeting as we go forward. But those are all areas that are on our radar right now to take a look at.
The issue on our side, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that even though there is water pipe problems up there, and even though you might not consider those to be critical, the road on top of those pipes is critical. Yep. And so if we wait, then the cost to repair that road goes up by 10x.
And that's what I talked to my engineers today, and they've actually been talking with Jared, and I think we're going to try to, is that the Lisa Way one?
Yeah.
Lisa
Yeah.
Drive,
So that's on our radar. I should have put it on here, sorry. because of that road work. We're going to want to get in ahead of that.
Okay, yeah, because that's the one we want to really get scheduled.
Yeah.
Because that can mean a huge cost difference on the road piece, even though you might not view the water piece to be as critical. That's one of those, if we go ahead and do the road because we can't wait anymore.
Yeah, we do that.
And then you 2 years later tear it up, that's when we get the heck beat out of us.
Yeah, well, and believe me, we do that in, whether it's Cottonwood Heights, Holladay, Mill Creek, Salt Lake City. I wish I didn't put that on here. That's one I did talk to my engineers about because of the roadway projects coming up.
Okay, that's when we'd appreciate some real solid coordination there. And I know you've got other huge capital investment projects for the big Cottonwood Canyon and such, but that's just one of those that's going to be super annoying if we don't coordinate
I'm
well
glad you
enough.
brought that up. I apologize for not having it on here. That's one I did talk to them about today. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and it's not just having the heck beat out of us, it's poor use of taxpayer funds, it's just unwise, right?
Believe me, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
And it's, we do our best, but when breaks happen,
Sure.
I wish we could do a moratorium on all roads, and we try to. We do that with UDOT, we do that with various cities, but if we have to get in, we have to get in. But if it's planned, then we should all work together and not plan to be stumbling behind you and tearing up a brand new road. We're right on board with that. Yep.
So I had a question about, you said the Tanner Reservoir replacement. Can you go back a slide?
Is a valve replacement, is that what it said?
Excuse me?
A valve replacement? Is that by
There's
Ruland Harper's up there?
There's both,
Okay.
we're replacing the actual reservoir itself, and then there's valving associated with it outside of the footprint of the reservoir.
And that will improve water pressure?
I'm not going to say it's going to improve our ability to deliver water, because it's an old infrastructure. I'm not sure it's going to improve water pressure. It's going to be the same elevation, so it'll be close to the same water pressure unless we really raise it up high. But it will be similar water pressure, but it will be a more sustainable long-term project because it's reached its end of life.
Okay.
Yeah. The other ones I don't have on here is kind of broader system-wise. Right now, we're rebuilding City Creek Water Treatment Plant. We're working with Metropolitan Water. They're going to be rebuilding Little Cottonwood Water Treatment Plant. We actually flip-flopped with them. We're going to have them go first, and then we're going to, right after the Olympics, we're planning on rebuilding Big Cottonwood Water Treatment Plant. In the interim, you've probably seen a lot of construction going on kind of between Holladay and Cottonwood Heights municipalities. We're doing a connection between the two so that when it comes time for us to rebuild Big Cottonwood, we can actually send Big Cottonwood water to Little Cottonwood Water Treatment Plant to preserve that water resource. So that's just a great way to kind of keep that water resource viable as we go. Because at Big Cottonwood, it's literally between a rock and a hard place. It's between the roadway, the creek, and a rock outcrop, and it's the optimal elevation so we can gravity feed to our system. So we've assessed going further downhill, but then we have to pump into our system, and there's no place to go further uphill. So to do that, it's going to be, once we decide to do that, we're going to tear the plant down and rebuild it and not have it as a viable treatment option. So that's why we put the pipeline in. And then other things that will be going on down the road with Metro Water is they're doing some work on the Salt Lake Aqueduct. That's the pipeline, the major pipeline that conveys water up to the terminal reservoir complex by RAI. And that's where Chazelle gets her water. That's the connections coming off that. But there'll be work on that to harden that as they go forward over the next several 10 to 20 years. Okay. This is the water mains replaced in the last 20 years. The picture on the left is our system-wide. That's our service area. You can see little cutouts there for the University of Utah and then a little cutout down below. Although we do show those because we track some of those for Holladay water lines replaced in Holladay water system. But you can see a lot, we're always replacing lines, and it's, again, go back to that condition and criticality, how we do things. And then if there's a large history break, we're going to go in and try to get those as soon as we can. And then on the right side is Holladay City itself. You can see over the last 20 years, there's been quite a bit of pipeline being put in. Next slide. This is the water main breaks in the last 5 years. You can see that kind of cluster up in the upper right-hand corner. That's one of the areas we focus on actually in 2023. We replaced a lot of those, and we've got a lot more of those going in. Then you can see the next cluster down. That's another one that's on our agenda along with the roadway project we just talked about, the Lisa Drive or Lisa Way work. On the left side of the table there, you can kind of see the number of breaks in the last 5 years. And then you can see the total system miles. So you and Holladay and Cottonwood Heights have about 150 miles of pipe, Mill Creek's about 201, and then Salt Lake City is about 867. So we have breaks all across our system. We have similar age pipe in various locations. Again, the East Bench is some of the first stuff to go in, so that's some of the older pipe. And then as you get out into the newer stuff, hopefully it's not breaking as much. But again, we found some pipes from the 1990s that just aren't a good pipe, and we're replacing some of those too. So we're constantly looking at things as we go forward and looking at these clusters so we can find out where we have the break histories, and we can try to get to those sooner than later as we make our way through our system. Next slide. Our rate study, we just finished the rate study. Our rates went into effect on July 1. Some of the big changes we saw is we went to tiered structure year-round instead of just tiered structure in the summer months. And then we changed our tiers. We kind of lowered them so that the lowest cost would be those families that do use the least water. So our tiers now go 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 40, and greater than 40, whereas previously they were broader tiers. So you might be finding that you and your constituents are getting to higher tiers sooner, depending on the amount of water you use.
Do you have a graph of that?
I don't have a graph of that, but I can direct you all to our rate study that's got all that information in it. Then the other thing with, I know the question sometimes comes up, is our county residents. We call them county because back in the day before unincorporated, and we can't get away from calling everybody county. So Holladay, Mill Creek, all the municipalities that aren't in Salt Lake City, they do pay a different rate than Salt Lake City. They pay a 35% more for cost and per rates. And that's because Salt Lake City residents pay a property tax to for the Metropolitan Water District work. Other county residents do not pay that. And then Salt Lake City, because we own and hold all the liability for the infrastructure, that goes into that calculation too. And as part of our rate study, we actually did a separate study on that to verify that 35% was accurate, and it did come out accurate again. So
Brings it to parity, huh?
what's that?
It brings it to parity essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, because
the county and the city. Huh?
Yeah. So the county, because the city residents pay the property tax that goes towards for Metropolitan Water District of Salt Lake and Sandy, whereas our county residents do not pay that.
Can you go into a little more detail? You said that, because I have had residents complain about their water prices. You said that with the new tiered rates, people would be moving into the higher tiers sooner.
Yeah, so previous tiers, so we have a monthly service charge, that's gone down, and the rate stabilization fee that we had in the previous fiscal year, that's gone away. That was kind of a short term to keep us solvent here. That's gone away, and then the new rate structure took that over. So previous tiers were 0 to 10 CCF. We measure our water in 100 cubic feet. So that's 748 gallons. So 0 to 10 was previous. That was tier 1 or block 1. Now it's 0 to 5. Second block was 11 to 30. Now it's 6 to 10. Third block was 31 to 60. Now it's 11 to 40. And block 4 was greater than 60. Now it's greater than 40. And that was all part of that rate structure we did to make sure that we're getting our cost of service and we're bidding in the appropriate rates as we go forward.
So, but is it ultimately that people are paying more? Like if you're moving up to the tier, I mean, ultimately it means with this new tier system,
yeah, so
water bills
it's
are going
going
up.
to be the new tiers plus the tiers, they're slightly higher than they were last year. Plus they're going to be jumping in, they're going to change tiers sooner than they would have.
So it's stout, huh?
And isn't there a base rate in addition to that?
Yeah, there's also the monthly service charge, and that's actually gone down. So there's a monthly service charge based on meter size, 3/4, 1 inch, 2 inch, whatever you might have. Okay. And I'm happy I can send Gina a link to our rate study, and I'm happy to come back and walk through it in depth with you also. I just know there was a lot to cover here today, so I haven't. It was a 1-year process, pretty in depth with the rate advisory committee and a lot of consternation going back and forth, but be happy to share that with everybody.
Yeah.
How would you describe, if at all, Holladay's representation in terms of the governance of our water supplier? I mean, other water suppliers and sewer districts have locally elected board members, but clearly you don't. But how would you describe, if at all, is Holladay represented?
So we have the Public Utilities Advisory Committee, and that's a once-a-month meeting. I know we have at least one member from Holladay City on that. We try to get broadly across the city and the county.
A staff member?
What's that?
Like a staff member?
No, it's a person of the public.
Who and how?
It's Roger Player's the person on it right now.
And how? Who points to him, or where did that? Where does that come
It comes through. It's appointed by the Salt Lake City mayor, and it can be. You all can give us any names that you might want to have on there, and we can take those to our mayor and have it put on.
Okay, but as it
Or council,
stands,
sorry.
as it stands, the Salt Lake City mayor appointed somebody from
Council.
Holladay.
Salt Lake City Council on that.
Council.
Yeah.
Appointed a Holladay resident to represent Holladay on that.
And Roger's probably been on it for my whole tenure with Salt Lake City. Yeah.
I never knew that. Did you?
Didn't know that.
Okay.
And we don't have, it's not based on our council districts. We try to just get, X number from within Salt Lake City, and then the rest we try to fill in with county representatives. And it could be Holladay or Mill Creek or whoever it might be.
And can you explain how that works? Like, what influence are they able to really have?
So they approve our budgets every year. They don't approve every single project we do, but they approve our master plan, our budget, which we present to them, everything from operations and maintenance, what we need, and then our capital improvement plan. So we give that all to them as part of the budget. We have a budget subcommittee that's made up of them. They go through the whole process, and then they present that to the entire PUAC. That then goes to the mayor with their approval, and then the mayor gives it to the council with her approval, and then they approve or don't approve it.
Yeah. So that's big picture stuff. As far as issues that Holladay might, those in the Holladay area might be having, though, are they able to wield any influence really, or?
I think if they come to us with projects or with issues, then we'll take those into account. I think you can either go through them, or we work with Gina or Jared a lot also. And if there's projects that come up, please let us know, and we'll put them in and kind of rack and stack them with our capital plan and our condition of criticality and see where they fall out. Yeah.
So I find it interesting that it's just kind of a member of the public that's doing this, because they're not elected to represent people in Holladay. They probably know their neighborhood or whatever, but they don't have a broader picture of the concerns that are going on in the city. Is that how all of the cities are represented?
Yep.
That's just how it's been forever.
That's just the
bylaws of how,
bylaws,
yeah.
What's the size of the advisory board, and how many are from Salt Lake City and how many are
I'm
outside?
going to have Holly look that up. I think we have 7. We have a few vacancies right now, and I think it's 4 and 3, but if Holly, you could look that up, I'd appreciate that.
Like 4 for the city and 3 for the county?
Yeah. Right. So the last slide I've got on is just our water supply and demand outlook. And I have that on there simply because we live in a desert. We're not out of a drought cycle right now. We're kind of, if you look at it, the lowest color there is maybe a little bit of abnormally dry, a lot of red, a lot of orange. Chazelle mentioned a lot about their conservation program. We also have a conservation program. We're happy to send people out. We do water checks for people. We work with Utah State University. We can send them out. They'll come and actually look at every sprinkler head on someone's property and see where it's going, and then they can give recommendations for how much water each parcel might need. So that's something that we offer. And then Stephanie Dewar, our conservation manager, would love to come and talk to any of your residents that want to talk about conservation. Yeah. So that's my last slide. I just, here for questions, and I can come back with additional information if you need that. And if you want more in depth on our rates, I'm happy to come back and spend a little more time on that with you.
I do have another question. As far as kind of back to like the Jordan Water question, as far as the residents that you've serviced over the years, has there been much transition or any transition in recent history of certain areas to Holladay Water, for example, or others, or is it kind of
So we have we're actually working with Holladay for they're doing some annexation with Sandy and Cottonwood Heights. We're working with them because if they go away, either Sandy takes the customers or we take the customers. We have boundary service agreements with them, and a lot of it's based on the infrastructure that's out there. So are we able to supply customers that they have? is there infrastructure I don't want to say just that anybody, is it of quality that we would take that on, or would there need to be upgrades before we take it on to get it to our standards? So it doesn't happen often, but there are times where we have, there are some customers like, hey, it's better off if this customer's in Jordan Valley or vice versa, but it would not be common by any means.
Is there somewhere, I had one constituent that reached out, frustrated, thinking that their water had changed from Holladay Water to Salt Lake City Municipal. Is there, who would you talk to find out if that really was the case? I don't,
You can just give them my name and I can get them in touch with our representative.
Yeah. Okay.
And there have been a few of those over time. And again, it's just because it's a matter of geography sometimes and what makes more sense, but it has to be plumbed right too. So it's not you can just say, oh, we'll take that customer because we have to, or they can't take our customer because the plumbing's not right. So it's got to be replumbed and trenched in the streets and reconnected to their home somehow. So.
This will seem like a weird question, but I'm just asking for your, transparent. Is there any difference in? It was interesting looking at the breaks if you factor like breaks per mile or whatever on that one slide that you showed.
That slide. Take a look at that.
I think it was like.
It's not breaks per mile. Well, you could do breaks.
Well, no, I was just kind of looking at that, thinking, is there? I mean, are you one water system and you look at it that way,
yeah,
or because Salt Lake City's was quite a bit lower breaks per mile than the other ones? Well, I think if I look at it.
So think of it this way too. So it could be a matter of the age of the pipe.
Sure.
Because a lot of Salt Lake City's expanded out, and that's more recent. Whereas this was some of the original piping that took place as we go across the bench.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can pop that up, but we can look at that. So it's really a matter of the soil types, the age of the pipe, what type of pipe it was when we took it over. Because a lot of it we took over from, say, Green Ditch. And there was a big push several years ago that a lot of that pipe is replaced because it wasn't great pipe.
Because of failure rates.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what we're looking at. And now with some of the break histories you get, sometimes we find it's like the pipes are fine, and then all of a sudden that vintage of pipe is no longer fine. And that's why we find ourselves chasing breaks. And some of the breaks would be, you fix a break, you recharge it, and you get a sympathetic break 40 feet away. And so you just chase it. So those are the ones we just want to go in and replace those and get new pipe put in. So, but yeah, there's, I know I've heard people say there's favoritism with the city. There's absolutely no favoritism with the city. Because if your pipes, you're all our customers, and it's one big organism. And if the water doesn't flow through Holladay, it doesn't make it where it needs to go down the road.
So I'm concerned about some residents that I have heard from over the summer. You may remember that in June, there was a large break on Nyla Way that was large enough to make the local news.
Yep.
That was fixed quickly, but the hole was never filled in. I got an angry email from a resident that lived on that street about a month after that break. And I drive that street, and it was a big enough break that in order to get around it, you had to basically have your tires in the gutter. I mean, it was hard to get around. And Jared, bless his heart, called one of your crews, and they said, oh, we forgot about that one. And then it was an additional 2 weeks before it was completely fixed.
So that's
but that's not. I think the thing that is most frustrating to us is people call us and say, we've been calling. We call somebody named Brett, call somebody named so-and-so, and no one ever calls them back. There was a similar situation just a few weeks ago on Melody Drive. A homeowner texted me and said, we've had a break. The water has been coming out of the ground for 6 weeks. We called. Somebody came and put a barricade over it, but they've never come back. And so we called. They did come out and fix it. Now I've had a call both from that same resident and the resident across the street. And yes, the break was fixed, but one resident said that they left a hole, no barricades, no nothing. They left a hole in their front yard. They left pieces of pipe. They left,
Can I get that address from you?
yes, I would be happy. And both of them say that their gutters have sunk because of the fact that there was water there for so long. The address is 2838
Hold on,
Melody
you
Drive.
give it to me right now, so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Good. Thanks, Holly.
2838 Melody Drive, and across the street, 2843 Melody Drive. And what do I say as a city council person when somebody calls me up? I say, well, you know, there's really nothing we can do. This is not a city issue, it's the Salt Lake Public Utilities. And they say, but we've been calling them, and nobody ever calls us back. What do I say to that resident?
So I'm going to tell you that I've been taking action on this recently. We've actually recently restructured our maintenance program. So we have a maintenance manager that's dedicated just to maintenance and not distribution. He's going to be taking a lot more closer look at how long, oftentimes we go in and we get we might have not got out to the water leak sufficiently on this, and I might know why on that one. But we get the water fixed. Our primary goal is to get the water fixed, get people back in water. There are times we languish on getting the final repairs done, whether it's the asphalt. Sometimes we have to wait for asphalt. And I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, because there are times we've been too long. Like, I'll put that right out there. But there are times we have to wait for other utilities. If the water is eroded around some other utility, whether it's gas or sewer, sometimes we have to wait for asphalt. Sometimes we have to wait for sod, things like that. Again, not excuses, because that's not always the case. But with our new maintenance manager, one of the goals that we've tasked him with is really tracking our open road cuts so that we don't have things that get lost. So we don't have someone go in and fix the water line, and then a new crew comes in, the night crew comes in, and they don't finish the paperwork because they thought the day crew did it. So there's a lot of those things we're working on right now. I can't say we're going to fix it overnight, but it's something that's on my radar and it's on the department's radar, and we've made some changes internally to help adjust some of that. Some of the water lines that might languish like that, especially in Holladay, we have times where it's a private water line. So sometimes we have our water lines, but then there's private water lines that go off on those. And those are the responsibility of the private water line holder. Oftentimes we try to get them to do it, and then we end up going in and doing it. I can't say that's the case there, but we have had those cases also where leaks continue because the private line owner hasn't gone in to fix it. And eventually we just go in and fix that, and then we build them.
So what do you mean a private line owner?
So there are a lot of water mains that are, say, owned by the Green Ditch Company. And so we provide the water, but they are owned and to be maintained by that other entity.
Can you give me an example?
I would have to look some up. They're kind of down in the Walker Lane area.
I've never heard of that before,
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Yeah, so I can show you, and I'll look at the address you gave and see if that's one of them. I can't say that's that case because I haven't memorized the
If you're talking about
maps.
Walker Lane, that'd be her district.
Yeah.
She's up in the northeast.
So, but they're elsewhere also. So there's times we do have that it's a private water line. We try to get them to fix it, and if they eventually don't, then we'll go in and fix that and then charge them for it. So, but we don't want to become a maintenance crew for private water line owners. So, but again, I hear what you're saying. That's one of the goals I have right now with my maintenance crews is to make sure that I'm getting a weekly report now of open road cuts so that I can look at those. And I'm working with Chris, our new maintenance manager, that he's looking at it intently every week and making sure that we don't have the water line repaired, because we always know we get that repaired, and that we don't languish on getting the final road restoration done.
How long has it been since you've made that structural change?
He's been in the position about a month.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty recently, yeah.
Okay.
So this
Or this summer.
resident
This
on
summer
Melody
sometime.
Drive, he said that he was calling somebody named Brett, so that's not the
Brett is one of our maintenance supervisors. I will talk to Brett about that one also.
Apparently, he's called him numerous times, and Brett has never called him back.
Okay. Yeah, Brett is one of our maintenance supervisors.
I know you feel like you're probably being raked over the coals here.
Hey, honestly, this is, if I don't get the feedback from you or from others, then
Well,
we'll go
I think
status quo.
structurally, it's flawed, frankly. There's the representation thing that the council member Fotheringham brought up. It's just flawed. And I'd love to see a change because this is, I hate to say it, but it's the nature of monopolies, right? We are a monopoly and we have talks with our planning department and others like, you've got to provide, you got to pretend like there's competition here and that you're providing as good a customer service as you can. Me personally, I can speak. I was down at, and I say this just as information. It's not you, right? It's the entity, but I personally had to go down to open up a water account for a place I bought down in Murray that Salt Lake City covers, and I can't remember what it was exactly, but I was so frustrated because I think they didn't accept credit cards or I can't remember. I had to go to a bank for something. Like it was crazy. The kind of thing where it doesn't happen outside of public.
Typically, it's just rolls of pennies that we take.
Yeah. In any case, to the extent that you can take back to you being the deputy director, that you can take back and try to instill a culture of like changing those kinds of things. It's frustrating because we aren't the water company, we're the city, but we hear about it and we have to have some way to do something,
Yeah.
Can I add one more issue? As long as we're talking, there's a parcel, I think it's being held in reserve for a possible pump station or something on 23rd East.
2300 East, 4500 South.
Yeah,
Yep.
and we've had, I think as long as I've been on the council, we've had trouble getting people out to maintain it on a regular basis.
So that's another one. When Gina asked us about this, she talked to me about that. And honestly, it's not always on my radar because it's one of the vacant lots we're holding for future. I know that that UDOT did some work around on the 45th side and then on the 2300 side, there's some work also. We fenced it off. For a long time, it was being used as a staging area for various people just using it as a staging area. So we blocked that off. I've talked to our maintenance teams and the managers over there. I think what we're going to do is part of our conservation program, we've worked with USU to develop a very low water turf that's actually used on a lot of golf courses now in Salt Lake City. What we're going to do, I think, is we'll go through and put in probably a yard hydrant out there so we have some water, try to establish this turf and do some trimming of some of the trees and at least make it more presentable for everybody and put it on a mowing schedule. We have some of our mowing schedules we do internally. Some we have a landscape contractor that comes in. I might just put this on theirs so they hit it every 2 weeks.
That would be great because it's kind of the entry into our Holladay Village area and it can be really unsightly if it's not maintained on a regular basis.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
I know we kind of got on a lot of different topics. I would appreciate more information on that tiered structure change and how that happened because ultimately what I'm hearing is that residents are paying more, and I know there's lots of reasons for that, but when I have people asking me, I'd like to really understand that in a way that I can explain
and
to them.
our rates would, if we had kept the old tier, they still would have, the rates would have gone up.
Mm-hmm.
But what we did is we tried to, by lowering that first tier from 0 to 5, what we're trying to do is the bulk of our water users are in that tier for the most part.
Okay.
And so that's part of that equity is we want to make sure that it's equitable from everybody across the whole socioeconomic profile. And so that was one of the reasons we did that. There was a long discussion with our rate advisory committee,
Okay.
which tiers to go with in that.
Okay.
But I can send you some literature on that.
That would be awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And Holly, I hope you're taking all my notes because I'm going to.
And I did, so the 9-member board or PUC, we currently have 3 vacancies, and then by bylaw, we're required to have at least 3 members at the time of their appointment to reside outside of the limits. I believe we are meeting that now, but it doesn't limit it to only 3. We can have 3.
How long have there been 3 vacancies?
We've had vacancies for quite a while. There were just 2 new people appointed, but that'll still leave some vacancies. So if you all have a recommendation, have Gina contact me and we can.
Well, so I guess on that note, is there a way that we can, maybe this is a question for Gina even, that we can take a more active role either in recommending somebody regularly or having somebody, I mean, I guess it can't be a member of the council that sits on that board.
Correct.
Okay, but then maybe having somebody that has more of a relationship with the city
Why can't it be somebody on the council?
I believe we just don't have elected officials on that Public Utilities Advisory Committee.
That's part of the bylaws?
Yeah, I'd have to check if it's bylaws, yeah, I believe it is.
I'd love to understand the rationale on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I know other cities have asked to have public officials on, we have not had that happen, so.
Okay.
Or to have it be an elected position, or have them be elected even, I don't know, but yeah.
Because there's lots of districts that we sit on for different things that I think it's really helpful to have people who represent large areas.
Yeah,
sure.
And I think that's something also is we reach out, we can let you know who your representatives are, you can reach out to them and have them come here. I mean, again, we have people from the various districts, but we don't say, hey, go back and report back to your people, but that's something you all could have them do.
I think it's kind of, I don't want to use the word crazy, but that none of us know who our representative has been on this board.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had these problems, but we've never known that there was someone that we could have talked to that was on your advisory.
Yeah, and we meet, it's a public open meeting every month, except in the summer, we take up some time off because most people are gone. So, but it's an open meeting once a month.
I guess I find it interesting, even though it's not a tax, it's something everybody has to pay because everyone needs to use water. So it's an entity that we're forced to pay the bill, and we don't have anybody that represents.
It's a legal monopoly, right?
Yeah, and I just find that really interesting structure that
So what we can do is, Holly, we can get the bylaws and show you where that comes from, city ordinance.
Okay. Thank you so much. We said we've asked a lot of questions. We just get a lot of questions. Clearly, all of us are getting questions.
And I think, don't wait for one of these opportunities. If you have questions, you can contact us directly, or Gina knows how to get to us, and we can try to respond to those. And if there's long-standing ones, I want those to be brought to my attention. I don't want to come up here and say, well, we're getting to it.
Yeah.
I want to come up here and have you say, hey, you're doing great. So.
Sure.
Thank you for taking the time to come tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. Holladay water.
Holladay water.
I know you wanted to be out of here at 7:30, so I'll just take a few
It's
minutes.
okay, we're good.
I don't have a slideshow. Gina's map, I think, will be really helpful if we can put that one up and just sort of show you. 100 or, whenever John Holladay and the others, 5 families that settled the place showed up, they all pretty much built along Spring Creek. It's the cleanest water to drink from and to irrigate with. So that's where the water started. And as the community grew, they acquired water rights coming out of Big Cottonwood Canyon as well. They established a water company. It's been around 100 years. About that time, Salt Lake City approached Holladay Water and said, hey, couldn't we have some access to the water coming out of Big Cottonwood Creek? We said, yeah, that sounds good if you will build some pipelines through Holladay and maintain them for as long as we have this contract in place. And that would, and they also had to guarantee us 1 million gallons of water a day during the summer months and 700,000 gallons of water a day during the winter months. So that's where the water supply sort of come. And so we have some main lines that run through Holladay Boulevard, Highland Drive, a little bit Wander Lane, Gunderson Lane. Those lines were built by Salt Lake and they maintain them. So when one of those lines break, we can give them a call and they come out and take care of fixing it. And it works good for us and it's going great. Our hope is someday that we can talk to them about replacing the lines. That would be really awesome. But they keep maintaining them. So as long as they take care of that, we're good with it. The water that we have, we only have 4,000 customers that we deliver water to. About 3,000 of them are in Holladay and 1,000 are in Mill Creek. The boundaries that were established for Holladay water system was Big Cottonwood Creek, Highland Drive, Mill Creek, not the city line, but the Mill Creek, and Upper Canal. So we're contained within that area. And our water supply, a huge amount comes from Spring Creek. We have a water treatment plant up there. I'd love to have you come up and see it if you'd like to check it out and see how the water's processed and prepared for customers. We also have 4 wells that during the summer months when people irrigate, we turn the wells on, and that provides the additional water for everybody to water their lawns and cemeteries and parks and such. And then, of course, we rely on that water delivery from Salt Lake. And then they get to keep all the excess water that they don't deliver to us. And it works out pretty good. Our customers own us. They all own shares in the company. So with that, they get, we bill them quarterly. And during the first and fourth quarter, which are the winter months, they get 10,000 gallons of water for free. They aren't charged for those quarters. And then in the summer quarters, the second and third quarters, they get 20,000 gallons of water for free. And then we go ahead and start billing them. We also have a tiered billing system. We've changed it this past year, but it's fairly liberal. I think if you looked at our rates, we don't really promote them or advertise them to anybody because the only people we communicate with are our owners. We don't tax them. They just pay for our system. We have 50 miles of pipe in the ground. We have a policy to try and replace a mile a year, so we don't get stuck and have to rely on taxpayers and funding to replace the pipes when they break and when they get too old. So we're moving along pretty good. We're about halfway through, 25 years into it. We've got another 25 years, and then we'll start over. When we have 9 employees, and we have about 4 of them that work on a crew. They're the ones that go out and fix everything. And we have 2 treatment operators that are at the plant making sure it works. And we have 3 office staff, 2 or 3 office staff. And our employees, half of them are over 60 years old, and 2 of them have 45 years with the company. And I'm the youngest of all of them with only 6 years. So we do everything we can to keep them and employ them, and it'd be really nice to pay them enough to live up here, but they all live within 20 minutes of Holladay, and so they're quick to respond. Our day crew is our night crew, and they show up, and as mentioned by some of the others, when we have a line break, they show up at 2 in the morning. They get down to it. They'll turn the valves down, let the water flow through the line so people still have a little bit of water, but we don't have so much going down the road. And one of the scariest things about Holladay, and it keeps me up at night, is the storm drain system. And I love the fact that they're being replaced, and the city's been awesome to work with because we have certain areas that are critical. They are prone to flooding more than others, and the city's been awesome with taking care of getting those as a high priority fix. I've enjoyed working with Jared. He's good to work with. I feel like we got to bend over backward a little bit to help him bend over backward. And when we have a line break, we try to get it asphalted the same day we fix it. Winter time's a tough time to get asphalt, but we spend more and we keep a load of more expensive asphalt that's designed to kind of be packed in and get the road back so we don't have the problems that occur when when road base is just sitting there and then gets driven over quite a bit. So that's kind of how we operate. I don't know if I have anything else to say. If you have some questions, happy to answer them.
We got to come up with some questions.
Thanks.
I'm just teasing.
I think you're probably the only one in the
Leave it to me. I'll have a few.
Okay, good. That's all right. Bring it. It's okay.
I shouldn't even say this, but I'm going to. How did the spelling of the name?
Oh, sure.
Go
That's
Holladay.
okay. Well, no one knew how to spell it. I mean, look, John got called to go settle San Bernardino, and so he took off, and everybody else just kind of kept growing their families here. And at the time, and you even have pictures of them downstairs showing businesses with the I in Holladay, a Holladay service station and other things like that. So I think people just kind of went with what they thought they knew. I don't think it was until the 50s when a genealogist came along and said, well, you know, on his tombstone it says, you know, with an A. Well, we were already incorporated and we didn't want to go back and change everything. And, you know, so anyway, we sort of like it with the I. I know a lot of people don't, but we try to fly stealth. We don't promote a lot of things. We don't share where our facilities are. We don't talk about finances with anybody except for our shareholders. And we just try and keep it as low as we can.
So you don't want me to share right now how my rates changed from when I moved by 39th South to where I am right now?
Go ahead. We'd love to hear it, actually.
I was on 0.6 acres, and I spent I spent in 1 month in the summer what I spend in a quarter on 0.8 acres here. So it was a substantial difference. And I don't know if that's just the benefit of having, you know, been a first mover in being here, you know, and I guess really it's a good company for its members, I guess, in the end. Did I understand correctly? Then the whole system, in theory, is replaced every 50 years. Then is that if you're shooting for a mile a year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. And when you said so, it's 4,000 households. Is that or properties? Is that what it is total? Okay, so 3,000. How many do we have in? How many households are there in Holladay? Do you know?
Just over 11,000 households.
11,000. So.
And it's really 3,000 households and businesses in Holladay. We got 1,000 in Mill Creek.
In Mill Creek, right? Yeah. So you're about 25% of Holladay, essentially, is what you service then, right? Okay.
Tell us about your conservation efforts.
Yeah. Well, we our shareholders, we give them tips on how to conserve energy, and that's it.
What's the rationale for the free water?
Well, as I mentioned early on, when we made the arrangement with Salt Lake City to process that water, we get 1 million gallons of water coming in every day. That water's coming in, doesn't cost us anything to process, and we're nonprofit. Our customers own us, so they get the water.
It's kind of how Alaskans, don't they receive some type of oil stipend or something like that? Or you know, and it's just benefit of being here, huh?
Yeah, similar.
Interesting.
Any other questions?
This is a question really for the group. Is there anything that water quality? Is there anything that shows? You know, how do we know? I know that you provide. Sorry, this keeps turning off. Annual reports on the water quality, but is there anything that shows the comparison of like what matters when as far as the
yeah,
Yeah,
well, even though we're privately owned, we are a public water system, and so we're subject to the same regulations through EPA and the Division of Drinking Water and all those regulations. So all of us go through the same process as far as meeting certain standards, and we have to have the water tested. We're testing weekly, and we have to provide those results to the state. And so, yes, then we provide those results in that annual report.
And there's legal compliance, right? But then as far as knowing what the actual, is there any resource that just, so that you know how good your water really is, I guess, as far as, I don't know what the variables are that are considered, but.
Yeah. Well, we like to think taste is one. So we think it tastes better, especially out of the spring coming down through those, down into Arbor, Kentucky, Boise, all those old areas of Holladay. But as far as anything else goes, as long as you meet EPA standards and such, as far as the cleanliness of the water, that's pretty much
that's all that's reported
required.
Essentially. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
very much. All right. We reviewed Title VII earlier in calendar. Is there anything else that we need to cover tonight? I will take a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.